They lied to you. They said you needed to work hard your entire life to make money, but that's a lie. Work isn't the smartest way to make money. You can earn while you sleep. Sounds absurd, right? It's precisely this kind of absurdity that shatters paradigms and opens your mind to a new reality. Your body is energy, pure energy in motion, vibrating constantly. But here's the big revelation: this vibration doesn't happen by chance, it's controlled by the ideas you allow into your mind. Every thought you accept generates a feeling, and it's this feeling that shapes your vibration. And the vibration, in turn, determines what you attract into your life. It's like a radio station, you can only pick up the frequency you're tuned into. Think with me, how many times have you woken up grumpy, dragging your feet, and it feels like the whole day was a succession of problems? Traffic worsens, your boss complains, money disappears, and you come home exhausted, drained. Seems like bad luck, right? But it's not. It's vibration. You programmed yourself for a bad day. Now, imagine the opposite, when you wake up excited, confident, believing that good things will happen. The day flows, opportunities appear, even friendly people cross your path. That's not coincidence either. It's you emitting a different frequency. I experienced this firsthand. When I worked in the fire department, I believed my life was limited to that job. I had an image of myself as an ordinary person, uneducated, with little chance of prospering. And guess what? That's exactly what I attracted: limitation. Until one day someone put a book in my hands that changed my story, Think and Grow Rich. There, for the first time, I understood that the key wasn't outside of me, but inside my mind. I didn't have to accept life as it was, I could change my vibration. And it's important to understand that you've already experienced this, even if you've never stopped to think about it. When you fall in love, for example, everything seems different. You walk down the street and feel like the world smiles back at you. This doesn't happen because the world changed. It's you who changed. Your frequency changed. The question remains, why only wait for specific moments to feel this, when you can create this vibration whenever you want? Neuroscience has already proven that our feelings directly influence our brain chemistry, releasing hormones that can increase or decrease our energy. In other words, science confirms what I've been saying for decades: you are in command of your internal state. But the curious thing is that most people act as if they are victims. They say, so-and-so made me nervous, the problem took away my peace, as if others had the control. But no one has that power unless you allow it. You can choose to respond instead of react. You can hear a criticism, take a deep breath, and think, that's his point of view, it doesn't define who I am. Now, let me ask you a question: are you truly aware of how you're vibrating? Because this isn't a detail, it's the foundation of everything you achieve. Money, relationships, health, opportunities, everything responds to your vibration. Most people try to change external results without altering what happens within them. They try new jobs, new relationships, new businesses, but they continue vibrating in scarcity, fear, and doubt. And so, they attract more of the same. When I started to realize this truth, my world opened up. I began to observe my feelings as thermometers of my vibration. If I wasn't feeling well, I knew it was a sign, something needed to be changed within me. And change always begins with an idea. When I chose to think about something positive, even something small, the feeling changed. And when the feeling changed, all the energy around me also changed. It's like a cycle: thought generates feeling, feeling generates vibration, and vibration attracts results. That's the law. And when you master this, no matter where you are today, you can completely change the course of your life. Now think, how have you been feeling lately? Are you vibrating with confidence, prosperity, joy, or fear, anxiety, and lack? Because, like it or not, this vibration is what's shaping your results at this very moment. You have no idea how much you've been programmed since the moment you were born. When you came into this world, your conscious mind wasn't yet developed. You didn't have filters, you didn't have the ability to question anything. Everything you heard, saw, and felt went directly into your subconscious, without any resistance. And that's how, without realizing it, You received instructions about who you should be, what was possible to achieve, and how life worked. Stop and think, why do you speak the language you speak? Why do you prefer certain types of food? Why do you believe that money is hard to earn or that you need to work hard to survive? None of this is natural, it's programming. You absorbed these ideas because you were surrounded by people who repeated these same patterns day after day. If the adults around you were constantly complaining about bills, debts, how unfair life was, all of that went directly into your mind as if it were an absolute truth. I experienced this intensely myself. I grew up during a time of economic depression. I heard phrases like, "We don't have money, you should be content with what you have, things are difficult for people like us," inside my home. These phrases were repeated so much that, for a long time, I believed that was truly the way things were. And as a consequence, I attracted a limited life, without prospects. I didn't question it because that was my reality, and I simply accepted it. And you know what's most impressive? Science has already proven that in the first years of life, especially up to 7 years old, our brain functions predominantly in brainwaves called theta. This state is exactly the same one used in hypnosis. In other words, during childhood you were hypnotized by your environment. Everything that was said and done around you was entering as programming. That's why so many people grow up with the same fears, the same limitations, and even the same financial problems as their parents. Now think with me, how many times have you caught yourself repeating phrases that you hated hearing as a child? How many times have you said to yourself, "I can't, this isn't for me, things always go wrong"? That's not your voice. It's the voice of the programming that was installed in you. And the most dangerous thing is that the more you repeat it, the more you strengthen that pattern within your subconscious. Look around, entire families who live with scarcity, generation after generation, because no one breaks the programming. Intelligent people, with incredible potential, who never dare to dream bigger because they carry within them the beliefs they inherited. And, at the same time, children from families who believe in abundance grow up believing that success is natural. It's not coincidence, it's the repetition of patterns. That's why you might work hard, strive, do everything to change your life, but feel like you're chained by an invisible current. You even know what should be done, but something stronger seems to pull you down. That something is the programming that's dominating your subconscious. And here's the big revelation, as long as this programming doesn't change, your results will continue to be the same. I clearly remember looking at people who prospered and thinking, what do they have that's different? Today I know the answer. They were exposed to different ideas, they accepted new programming. And that's exactly what you need to start doing. Because the truth is that you weren't born to live a limited life. That was just the programming they implanted in you. There is something silent, invisible, but which controls absolutely everything in your life, your paradigm. It's formed by a set of habits, beliefs, and patterns that have been repeated so many times that they now govern every decision, every attitude, and especially every result you obtain. The most intriguing thing is that, even if you consciously want to change, this paradigm acts as a hidden force, pulling you back to the same behaviors, the same mistakes, and the same limits. How many times have you read an inspiring book, participated in a course, or listened to a lecture and thought, this makes sense, I'm going to change from now on? Only, a few days later, you found yourself doing everything exactly as before? That's not a lack of willpower, it's your paradigm in action. It's like an autopilot that drives your life without asking permission. I experienced this firsthand. When I decided to open my first cleaning company, the idea seemed good, but inside me there was a battle. An inner voice repeated, "You're uneducated, you have no experience, it won't work." It was the paradigm trying to sabotage me, because for it I should continue living limited, trapped in a pattern that always existed. And if I had listened to that voice, I would never have changed my destiny. The curious thing is that the paradigm makes you believe you're making conscious decisions, but in reality, you're only reacting to what has already been programmed. It controls your logic, defines how you see the world, determines how you use your time, regulates how much you believe you deserve to earn. That's why many people, even intelligent and talented, never get anywhere. They plan, they dream, they even start something new, but the paradigm makes them give up or sabotage themselves halfway through. And here's a truth that may seem shocking: working hard is the worst way to make money. Most people have been programmed to believe that the more physical effort they put in, the more money they will have. But that's a false paradigm. The truth is, you should work for fulfillment, not for money. Money is the byproduct of service, of adding value, of creating solutions. It can come from multiple streams, and yes, it can even arrive while you sleep. Those who don't understand this remain trapped in the cycle of trading time for money, as if it were the only possible path. And perhaps you can relate. How many times have you thought, "I'd love to earn more, but I just can't"? That thought is your paradigm manifesting itself. It establishes invisible limits that you accept without realizing it. Most people never question these limits, which is why they spend their entire lives repeating the same results year after year. I know what this prison feels like. There was a time when I also believed I could be nothing more than a fireman. The mere thought of earning in 1 month what I earned in a year seemed ridiculous. But the truth is, the ridiculous part was continuing to believe in that paradigm. When I started to change it, my whole world changed. It's important to realize that your paradigm isn't you. It was created through repetition, through environmental influence, through the voices you've heard since childhood. And if it was built, it can also be deconstructed and replaced. But until you understand this, you'll continue to believe that the chains binding you are a natural part of your life, when, in fact, they are merely habits that can be broken. So reflect, how many dreams have you left unlived because your paradigm convinced you they were impossible? How many times have you unknowingly sabotaged yourself, always returning to the same starting point? This silent enemy is real, but the good news is you have the power to transform it. Repetition is the key that unlocks any door. It's through repetition that you can reprogram your mind and create a new reality. What many people don't understand is that it's not enough to simply hear an inspiring idea once, to feel moved in the moment, and then return to your routine. The subconscious doesn't change with sporadic information, it's only transformed by constant repetition, like drops of water falling on a stone until they shape its surface. I learned this in a way that seemed crazy to those around me. I carried a portable record player in my car and spent hours listening to Earl Nightingale's audios, every day, repeatedly, as if they were a kind of mental nourishment. I read Think and Grow Rich daily, without stopping, for years. Some said I was becoming obsessed, that I had lost my mind. But what they didn't know is that each repetition was breaking down an old program and building a new one. The human brain works exactly like this. Neuroscience studies show that repetition creates new neural connections. Every time you repeat an idea, you reinforce the mental pathway that supports that thought. It's like opening a trail in the middle of a dense forest. The first time is difficult, but the more you go through it, the easier it becomes, until the path is clear, and you traverse it almost without noticing. That's why habits become automatic. And this is precisely the process you can use to install new paradigms that support prosperity, abundance, and confidence. But here's the trap: you're already repeating something every day. Every time you complain, talk about difficulties, tell yourself, "I can't," you're reinforcing the wrong paradigm. Without realizing it, you're training your mind to vibrate in scarcity and continue attracting the same problems. If you want to change, you need to reverse the process, consciously choose what to repeat, even if it seems strange or artificial at first. I always recommend starting with simple but powerful affirmations. One of them accompanies me to this day: "I am so happy and grateful now because money comes to me in ever-increasing amounts, from multiple sources, continuously." The first time you say this, your mind might even laugh, saying, "That's not true." But if you repeat it 100, 500, 1,000 times a day, over weeks, the subconscious begins to accept it as a new reality. And when the subconscious accepts, your vibration changes, and when your vibration changes, your results inevitably change as well. Think about how high-performance athletes train. They don't make a movement just once and expect perfection. They repeat it tirelessly, thousands of times, until the body responds automatically. That's why, in moments of pressure, they can perform at the highest level. And the mind works the same way. The more you repeat a new belief, the more natural it becomes, until acting in harmony with it becomes automatic. I've seen people completely transform their lives using this principle. People who were in debt, full of doubts, began applying affirmations daily and, within a few months, began to see opportunities where they had previously only seen problems. Because repetition doesn't just change your belief, it changes your perception of the world. It's like switching a dark lens for a clear one. Suddenly, everything looks different, and you begin to notice things that have always been there but that your old paradigm didn't allow you to see. So, if you truly want to reprogram your mind, make it a challenge. Choose an affirmation that represents the life you want to live and commit to repeating it hundreds of times a day, every day, for 90 days. Not as an empty ritual, but as a conscious process of creating a new identity. At the end of that period, you will not only have changed your way of thinking, but you will have altered your vibration and, inevitably, will begin to reap new results. That's the power of repetition. It doesn't just teach, it transforms. It's amazing to see how some people reach extraordinary places without even understanding exactly how they did it. Often, they simply reprogrammed their own minds, without even knowing it. An example I'll never forget is that of Milt Campbell, Olympic decathlon champion. He told me, after attending one of my lectures, that for the first time in his life he understood how he achieved that victory. Until then, he believed it had been just physical dedication and athletic discipline, but the truth is that he had unconsciously altered his mental paradigm, and that's what led him to win the gold. This case marked me deeply because it proves something very important. It's not just talent, nor just physical effort that defines the great winners. It's the mental programming that sustains performance, whether in sports, business, or the arts. What happens is that, most of the time, the champions themselves can't explain why they went so far. They simply lived the process, but didn't understand that, behind it all, there was a paradigm shift. And just as there are success stories, there are also those that reveal the other side. Brilliant people, with degrees, above-average intelligence, and opportunities, who end up failing because they never changed the internal structure that controls their results. I've met men and women who believed that academic knowledge would be enough, but, even accumulating titles and training, continued to face financial, professional, and personal difficulties. Not because they lacked capacity, but because they carried internal beliefs that blocked any possibility of growth. The paradigm was in command. That's the difference between those who achieve extraordinary results and those who spend their entire lives struggling without moving. Often, it's not about knowing more, but about becoming different on the inside. After all, how many people do you know who have plenty of talent but are trapped in jobs they don't like, in situations that suffocate them, without ever daring to take the next step? They even dream, they even plan, but the paradigm whispers, "This isn't for you." And, believing that voice, they stop, retreat, sabotage themselves. The most curious thing is that the story of successful people in various fields always shows a common point. At some point, they began to repeat new ideas until they believed in them. Athletes who use mental visualization, entrepreneurs who repeat prosperity mantras, artists who rehearse tirelessly until self-confidence becomes natural. This repetition creates a new program, which replaces old beliefs and opens up space for greater achievements. Now, think about this seriously. How many people have you seen waste talents because they never changed the way they think about themselves? And how many others, perhaps even less technically skilled, achieved incredible results because they decided to believe in something different? That's the great revelation. It's not what you know intellectually that defines your life, but what you accept as true in your subconscious. If an Olympic champion only realized years later how he won, imagine how many victories you've let slip away because you still don't understand how your mind is programmed. The good news is that, like him, you can also reprogram your life. All you need is to start implanting new beliefs until they become natural, and then your results will begin to reflect this new version of yourself. Knowing is not enough. How many times have you caught yourself saying, "I know what I have to do," but deep down realized you did nothing different? This is the great dilemma of most people. The intellect understands, but the behavior doesn't follow. And that's precisely where the concept of praxis comes in, the integration between belief and action. When you truly believe in something and act in perfect harmony with that belief, the result is inevitable. The problem is most people live in a state of division. They say they believe in prosperity, but their actions reflect fear and scarcity. I've been there. For a long time, I believed I should be content being a firefighter. Deep down, a part of me dreamed of more, but my daily actions reflected complacency. The idea of having an international company felt so distant I didn't dare take it seriously. It was only when I started aligning my beliefs with my behavior that things changed. I didn't just read about success, I lived like someone destined for success. And it was this congruence that opened doors. You can see this in any area of life. People who say they believe in the importance of health but never change their diet or exercise. They lack praxis. Or those who say they want prosperity but continue complaining about bills, spending energy on worries instead of seeking solutions. They haven't aligned their beliefs with their actions. The result? They keep going in circles. The truth is, your subconscious doesn't respond to what you say you believe, but to what you demonstrate through action. That's why so many people repeat affirmations but see no results. They speak words of abundance, but continue acting from a place of scarcity. The universe doesn't respond to speech, it responds to vibration. And your vibration is always determined by the union of thought, feeling, and action. I like to think of praxis as the glue that unites vision and result. You can have clarity about what you want, you can even visualize it every day, but if your actions aren't in sync with that vision, nothing will happen. It's like planting a seed and then not watering it. You have the potential for the fruit, but you'll never see the tree grow. How many times have you committed to changing your life, only to revert to old habits soon after? This happens because the old paradigm is still dominating your actions. The secret lies in sustaining the new behavior even when there's no external proof. When you act as if you are already the person you want to be, even before you have the result, you're practicing praxis. And that creates such a powerful force that it inevitably alters your results. That's exactly what transformed my trajectory. It wasn't just believing I could have more, but starting to act in accordance with that belief, even if it seemed illogical. When I stopped seeking only security and started investing in myself, when I started repeating new ideas until they guided my choices, my life took a leap that seemed impossible. And that's the decision you need to make now. Will you continue saying you believe in prosperity while acting like someone limited, or will you finally align your belief with your action? Because the moment thought, feeling, and attitude unite in one direction, nothing can stop you. That's the real secret. There's an invisible but extremely powerful element that can completely change the direction of your life: creative dissatisfaction. Many people believe they should simply accept what they have, conform, because that's how things are. But conformity is what keeps most people trapped in mediocre lives. The truth is, dissatisfaction, when used correctly, is a creative engine capable of propelling you beyond the limits you've learned to accept. I grew up hearing that it was better to be content with little, that desiring more was almost a sin. And as a result, for a long time, I lived believing I couldn't have anything beyond the minimum. But it was precisely when I started to feel that unrest within me, that voice saying, "This can't be all there is for me," that my life began to change. Dissatisfaction transformed into creative energy. How many times have you felt this silent discomfort, as if you were trapped in a routine that doesn't represent who you really are? You wake up, go to work, come home, pay bills, and ask yourself, is that all there is? This feeling, instead of being stifled, should be nurtured, because it's a sign that your soul wants to expand. Science has already shown that discomfort can be one of the greatest catalysts for change. Research in psychology shows that when a human being feels dissatisfied, it activates areas of the brain linked to the search for solutions. In other words, dissatisfaction awakens within you a creative power. I clearly remember one night when I arrived home after an exhausting shift at the fire department. I was tired, frustrated, and I thought, if I stay here, my whole life will be like this. That thought bothered me so much that I couldn't sleep. But instead of giving in to frustration, I used that discomfort as fuel. The next day, I decided to take the first step towards something new, even without knowing exactly what it would be. That moment of dissatisfaction was the turning point in my life. The big mistake most people make is interpreting dissatisfaction as failure. They believe that if they are not happy, it's because they haven't succeeded. But it's not that. Dissatisfaction is proof that you are ready to evolve. If you were completely comfortable, there would be no growth. Think of the greatest inventors, artists, leaders. None of them would have created anything extraordinary if they were satisfied with accepting the ordinary. It was the discomfort with reality that propelled them to change the world. Now reflect, in what area of your life do you feel this dissatisfaction? Is it finances? Relationships? Work? Wherever it is, this discomfort is not a sign of defeat, but of potential. From the moment you channel this energy towards a greater goal, it transforms into a force capable of breaking any paradigm. So, instead of running away from this feeling, embrace it. Use dissatisfaction as a reminder that you weren't born to live a limited life. Transform this energy into action, and you'll realize that each discomfort was, in fact, an invitation to access the most powerful version of yourself. True change begins within you, the moment you decide to reprogram your mind and align your thoughts, feelings, and actions with what you truly want to experience. This is the most important point: nothing outside of you has more power than the vibration you choose to sustain. And now, if you wish to continue on this journey of transformation, the next video appearing on your screen will help you climb another step on this ladder of wisdom, making you 1% better than you are now. Thank you very much for being here with me, and I'll see you in the next video.